Thomas Matthew Crooks strode into Donald Trump's Pennsylvania rally on July 13th, carrying a gun, explosives, and a rangefinder, with no one stopping him. What unfolded next was an attempted assassination that shook the nation. It has been a month since the incident. As the details of his meticulously planned attack emerge, we're left questioning how a series of security lapses allowed him to get so close to his target. Here's what we've uncovered so far. It's becoming evident that Thomas's attack was anything but a spur-of-the-moment breakdown. His actions were calculated and deliberate. In the days leading up to the rally, Thomas meticulously searched for images and public appearances of key figures like Donald Trump, President Joe Biden, Attorney General Merrick Garland, FBI Director Christopher A. Wray, and Catherine, Princess of Wales. He also gathered information about the Democratic National Convention, major depressive disorder, and the Oxford High School shooting. Investigators later found an arrest photo of Oxford shooter Ethan Crumbley on his phone. To provide context on the Oxford High School shooting on November 30, 2021, in Oxford Township, Michigan, involved 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley, who unalived 4 students and wounded 7 others. Armed with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, Crumbley was charged as an adult and ultimately sentenced to life in prison without parole in December 2023. This glimpse into Thomas's internet searches suggests he was studying past violent acts as part of his preparation. Back to Thomas. On July 6, 2024, he registered to attend Trump's rally and researched the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, even Googling, how far away was Oswald from Kennedy? On July 12th, Thomas visited a shooting range where he was a member, practiced his aim, and purchased over 50 rounds of ammunition along with a ladder. The next day, July 13th, he took the day off work, telling co-workers he had something to do and that he'd be back the following day. Just hours before the shooting, Thomas's parents reported him missing to the police, expressing deep concern for his mental state. 2 hours before Trump's rally, Thomas was flying a drone about 200 yards from the stage. The drone's camera captured 11 minutes of footage, offering a strategic view of the area where Thomas would eventually take his shot. Armed with an AR-15-style rifle that his father had legally purchased, Thomas was ready. The rifle's collapsible stock made it easier to conceal, yet it could be extended for better control when the moment came. As the rally began, Thomas used a rangefinder, a marksman's tool for measuring distance to a target, fine-tuning his aim. But the rifle wasn't the only weapon in his arsenal. He climbed atop a building being used by police as a staging area, going unnoticed by authorities for 90 crucial minutes, despite a sniper indicating he was on their radar. Authorities later found 2 crude explosives with receivers in his car, while a transmitter was discovered on his body. Among the items recovered was a bloodied receipt for a 5-foot ladder, suggesting he had bought it recently. However, no ladder was found at the site, adding another layer of mystery to his plan. Then, with the AR-15-style rifle, Thomas took his shot. He aimed at Donald Trump, grazing his upper right ear. In the chaos, he also shot 3 men in the audience, tragically killing 50-year-old Corey Comparatore and injuring 2 men. As panic erupted, a member of the Secret Service counter-sniper team fatally shot Thomas, ending the attack. In the aftermath, bomb-making materials were discovered in his vehicle and home. The FBI identified Thomas as the shooter the next day, confirming that he acted alone and dismissing online rumors about overseas bank accounts. The investigation revealed a chilling portrait of a man who had meticulously planned his attack, only to be stopped moments after he fired toward his target. So, who is Thomas Matthew Crooks? Thomas Matthew Crooks was born on September 20, 2003, and grew up in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, a middle-class neighborhood where his parents worked as licensed professional counselors. From an early age, Thomas showed promise in academics.
He was quiet, but he was just bullied. He was bullied so much. He'd wear hunting outfits sometimes.
At Bethel Park High School, he excelled in his studies, joining the National Technical Honor Society in 2021 during his junior year. In 2022, he graduated with high honors and received a $500 STAR Award from the National Math and Science Initiative. Despite his academic achievements, Thomas was known as a quiet and reserved student. Classmates described him as often bullied for his quiet demeanor, body odor, and for wearing camouflage hunting outfits and surgical masks to school. However, school records indicate that while Thomas was the target of bullying, he was not involved in any disciplinary incidents related to bullying or threats. The school district remembered him as a bright young man who generally got along with teachers and some of his classmates. Outside of academics, Thomas enjoyed playing chess and video games, and was learning how to program computers. He attended a computer technology program at the Steele Center for Career and Technical Education. Though he tried out for the school's rifle team, he did not make the cut due to poor aim, a detail that seems ironic given the events that would later unfold. After high school, Thomas pursued higher education, earning an associate degree in engineering science from the Community College of Allegheny County. He graduated just 2 months before the shooting. Thomas worked as a dietary aide at a local nursing home, where he passed a background check and performed his duties without any issues. He had been accepted into both the University of Pittsburgh and Robert Morris University, with plans to attend the latter. Thomas had no known criminal record or mental health issues.
What was he into? Like, what were his interests, or what could you tell were his interests?
Well, from what I do know is he was a very intelligent kid, and he was really did well. He really did well at in school, and had some kind of passion for like computers. So, and also it did seem to me like he was interested in like politics and whatnot. He was not a very outspoken person when it came to politics, but I did suspect that he was, and like a former classmate of mine had said, he projected kind of a conservative air. So nothing really, outspoken in that regard.
Any sports or sports interests?
I'm not sure about him doing sports, but what I do know is that he tried out for the rifle team from just talking with some of my friends who we had mutual relations with Tom. He didn't make it onto the rifle team. From what I've heard, he was just not a good shot.
Not a good shot.
Yeah, not a good shot, and just not following. Didn't really seem like he was a safe fit, according to the director of the rifle team.
What does that mean? Not a safe fit, or what was your interpretation of that?
Well, just what I've read is that that he shot in the. I don't exactly know how the range works in the rifle team, but there's targets, and he from like a first booth that he was stationed at, he shot, and apparently the bullet went all the way to the other end of the last booth, hit the last booth's target, and was just way off of line.
Yeah.
So.
Was he upset, or what was the feedback after he did not make the rifle team?
I don't think he was really upset. I think mainly it was just embarrassment, I would assume.
He had maintained a membership at a local shooting club for at least a year, yet nothing in his background hinted at the violent path he would eventually take. On January 20th, 2021, at just 17 years old, Thomas donated $15 to the Progressive Turnout Project, a liberal voter turnout organization, using the Democratic Party's donation platform, Act Blue. His contribution coincided with President Biden's inauguration, prompted by an email from the organization encouraging supporters to tune into the event. By 2022, however, Thomas had unsubscribed from their mailing list. When Thomas turned 18 in September 2021, he registered to vote as a Republican. Despite his early involvement in political donations, he only voted once, participating in the 2022 midterm elections. It should have been impossible for a man to enter a presidential rally with so much gear, let alone carry it up to an undefended rooftop with a direct line of sight to the stage. Yet, this is exactly what happened in Butler. The venue was secured with 2 layers of protection, an outer perimeter patrolled by state police, and an inner area guarded by Secret Service agents, including an anti-sniper team positioned on a roof behind the stage. An operations center was staffed by members of various agencies, but on the day of the rally, communication was disorganized, and lines of responsibility were unclear. The state police were responsible for the area around the AGR International Warehouse, the building from which Thomas fired, located about 400 feet from the stage with an unobstructed view. In the days leading up to the rally, the state police had flagged the building as a potential risk. However, when they brought this concern to the Secret Service, they were told that it was a state police matter since the building was in the outer security zone. As a result, a local SWAT-style emergency services unit team was stationed inside the building complex. Despite these precautions, Thomas was still able to position himself on the rooftop and carry out his attack. The New York Times later revealed that the so-called team stationed at the AGR International Warehouse was actually just 2 men who remained inside the building due to the hot weather, a plan approved by the Secret Service. In the aftermath, congressional hearings were held, with the FBI director, the Secret Service director, and Pennsylvania's state police chief being called to testify. During a tense hearing before the House Oversight Committee, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle admitted that her agents had been alerted to Thomas at least twice before the shooting began. However, she stated that agents only recognized the seriousness of the threat seconds before the gunfire started. Facing intense scrutiny, Cheadle stepped down from her position, citing her inability to explain why no one was stationed on the roof as a critical failure in the agency's security plan. What went wrong? Thomas's first sighting came from a State Police Emergency Services Unit, ESU. Unlike others in the crowd, Thomas was walking around without attempting to enter the venue. He never made it through the secure perimeter, yet he wasn't challenged. Police Commissioner Christopher Paris later revealed that Thomas was one of 3 people flagged as suspicious after 5 p.m. on the day of the rally. Around 5:30 p.m., SWAT operators observed Thomas using a rangefinder and browsing news websites on his phone. By 5:56 p.m., he was seen with a backpack. Despite these warnings, about 25 minutes before the rally began, the ESU team spotted him again, this time actively using his rangefinder, though no weapon was reported. This moment marked a critical breakdown in security. A member of the ESU team sent a photograph of Thomas to a state trooper in the Joint Operations Room. The trooper, in turn, was asked by a Secret Service liaison to forward the photo to another number. At this point, it appears that those tasked with protecting Trump did not perceive Thomas as a serious threat, likely because no weapon had been spotted. This misjudgment allowed Thomas to proceed unchallenged, leading to the tragic events that followed. The crucial moments. As the threat escalated, several local police officers, including the ESU team, began searching for Thomas, but he managed to slip away, even as his actions became increasingly concerning. Witnesses later reported seeing a man with a gun crawling along a rooftop, all while Trump was already on stage. Eventually, Thomas was spotted on the roof by local traffic police and his ESU team. A traffic officer, boosted up to the roof by a colleague, was forced to retreat after coming face-to-face with Thomas. This confrontation occurred just seconds before the shooting began. As soon as the first shots were fired, Secret Service agents immediately surrounded Trump, whisking him off the stage within 2 minutes. Thomas Crooks, at the age of 20, was killed by a single gunshot wound to the head at 6:25 p.m., fired by a Secret Service countersniper. Trump sustained a gunshot wound to his right ear, with the bullet coming less than 1/4 of an inch from entering his head. The wound was 2 centimeters wide and extended down to the cartilage, causing significant bleeding and swelling of the entire upper ear. A video recorded on the roof about an hour after the attack shows snipers and Secret Service agents trying to piece together who saw what and when, highlighting the confusion that plagued law enforcement during the incident. 8 bullet casings were found near Thomas's body. He had killed 1 crowd member and injured 2 others. Trump later stated that he took a bullet for democracy. He was on stage for around 10 minutes between the time Thomas was spotted on the roof with a gun and the moment he fired his first shot. Initially treated at Butler Memorial Hospital, Trump received a thorough evaluation, including a CT scan of his head. Doctors have indicated that he will undergo further evaluations, including a comprehensive hearing exam if needed, and will follow up with his primary care physician. In summary, former President Trump is recovering as expected from the gunshot wound and is reported to be recovering well.
It's a hell of a shot, but I'm a fast healer. Yeah, pretty much recovered.
Thomas's parents mentioned that he had always been interested in science experiments, so they were accustomed to receiving packages addressed to him at home. Although Thomas's father legally owned the AR-15 that his son used to fire at the president and transferred ownership to him sometime before the shooting, investigators have not found any evidence suggesting that Thomas's parents aided or abetted his plan, or knew what he was doing. Some have compared Thomas's actions to those of Mark David Chapman, the man who shot John Lennon in 1980. Both were described as nobodies, seeking to make a name for themselves and gain publicity. It has been speculated that Thomas might have had similar motivations. He was not outspoken about politics, though he did have a conservative air. Thomas's motive remains unclear, and no specific ideology or belief has been identified to explain his actions.
The FBI has still said we can't figure out a motive. What would you guess would have been his motive?
I'm gonna have to say everyone asked me that question, to be honest, and I don't really have a clear answer to give, but I do think that it's kind of similar to, the guy who shot and killed John Lennon outside of his apartment. That guy wanted to have, he was really described as just I don't really like this word, but he was described as, like a nobody, and wanted to make a name for himself, wanted some kind of publicity and to be someone. And I feel like, Tom Crooks, that might have been the case.
The case is still under investigation. The purpose of the explosives he had remains a mystery. While the bombs were viable, their receivers were turned off, meaning Thomas would not have been able to detonate them remotely. In May 2024, Donald Trump became the first former American president to be convicted of felony crimes when a New York jury found him guilty on all 34 charges related to a scheme to illegally influence the 2016 election through a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels. Trump was found guilty of falsifying business records to cover up the $130,000 payment made in exchange for Daniels' silence about a sexual encounter she claimed to have had with Trump years earlier. Prosecutors argued that the payment was intended to boost Trump's chances in the 2016 election, in which he defeated Democrat Hillary Clinton. Former President Donald Trump and the Republican candidate in the 2024 election denies having had any sexual relationship with Stormy Daniels and has vowed to appeal his conviction following his sentencing. On July 3rd, Missouri's Republican Attorney General Andrew Bailey filed a lawsuit against New York State, requesting the Supreme Court to pause Trump's impending sentencing and lift the gag order imposed by Judge Juan Merchan. However, in August, the Supreme Court rejected this effort by Missouri's Attorney General. Trump's legal team has since requested Judge Merchan to set aside the conviction, citing a recent Supreme Court decision regarding presidential immunity. Trump's sentencing is now scheduled for September 2024. For the crime of falsifying business records in the first degree, the minimum sentence could range from probation to up to 4 years in prison for each offense. If convicted on multiple counts, Trump could be ordered to serve the prison time concurrently with a total sentence of up to 4 years. We now pay tribute to other victims of Thomas's senseless actions. A retired grandfather and a Marine veteran were critically injured in an attempted assassination of Trump during a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. James Copenhaver, 74, and David Dutch, 57, were both shot when 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks opened fire. Mr. Copenhaver, a registered Democrat, remains in critical but stable condition at Allegheny General Hospital in Pittsburgh. His family has expressed their gratitude for the public's outpouring of support following the incident. The family has requested privacy from friends, the public, and the media, stating they will not be releasing further information about his injuries. The second victim, David Dutch, has reportedly undergone a second surgery at Allegheny General Hospital and has been brought out of an induced coma. Mr. Dutch, who preferred to be called Jake according to friends, was recently appointed as a Marine Commandant with the Marine Corps League. His sister, Jennifer Very Grazier, told the New York Times that he had worked for Siemens Inomotics for decades. Friends from the American Legion's Post 868, where Mr. Dutch was a regular visitor, shared that he often stopped by the group's Lower Burrell location with his wife. And the last victim, who unfortunately did not survive the attack, is Corey Comparatore, a 50-year-old volunteer firefighter and father who tragically lost his life while shielding his family from gunfire during the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Hundreds gathered to honor the former fire chief, who was fatally shot, and were urged to find unity as the rural Pennsylvania community sought to recover from the attack. Comparatore, who had served as a project and tooling engineer, an Army reservist, and a longtime volunteer firefighter after his tenure as chief, died while protecting his wife and daughter during the incident in Butler. In a statement issued on Thursday, Comparatore's family described him as our beloved father and husband and a friend to so many throughout the Butler region. The statement continued, "Our family is finding comfort and peace through the heartfelt messages of encouragement from people around the world, through the support of our church and community, and most of all, through the strength of God." Our thoughts and prayers are with the Comparatore family. What do you think about the idea that Thomas was motivated by a desire for fame or attention? In your opinion, what do you think his true motive was? Also, what are your thoughts on the security lapses that could have been easily avoided? As always, thank you for watching. Stay safe out there.